Senator Cantwell, any questions?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Poole, I wanted to ask you about, obviously I mentioned this Mitchell Hill situation that happened on the San Juan Islands and the Department of Natural Resources making a decision and getting rid of that land and then obviously throwing a challenge into whether we were going to be able to preserve it or not. So is there anything in current law that prevents a future administration from deciding to divest itself of the BLM lands on the San Juan Islands?
Not if in fact they've been specially designated as being proposed under this bill as a national conservation area. That would be exceedingly difficult if Congress elects to designate the 1,000 acres of rocks and islands.
Unless they do, you're saying there's nothing that protects them in the future?
I think, well, currently we're managing them for their conservation value. Portions of the rocks and islands have an administrative designation. We call that an area of critical environmental concern, but it does not carry the weight as a congressional designation would in terms of long-term protection and preservation.
Okay, and if this legislation was passed, obviously the management plan and implementation is critically important to the local community. How would the Bureau of Land Management commit to fostering a kind of community environment on the management? You know, an advisory plan or drafting or implementation or management, how would that function work?
I think it would include all of the above, which we've done on similar type designations. We would develop a plan for the area, and obviously in close concert with the affected citizens. And we have other conservation templates out there, State of Washington and Fish and Wildlife Service, Park Service, they're all represented in that province. So we're kind of the new one, we're kind of the new kids on the scene here, and obviously we're going to respect some of the conservation strategies and principles that they've also adopted and be very similar to that.
Okay, and what do you think that those kinds of plans would affect? I mean, I've heard some concerns by local landowners that maybe it would affect lands outside of the area, like adjacent properties.
The rocks and islands primarily constitute the 1,000 acres that's under consideration for NCA management designation. And they have been protected and conserved for many, many years.
Well, I'm trying to get at the point is, would you have any effect on private landowners?
No.
Okay, thank you.
No, ma'am.
And would you have any effect on, if we came up with this plan, would that have any effect on boating and fishing activities?
Only as regulated by other state entities, we would respect that.
Okay, and then any property that was adjacent wouldn't be impacted, or?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So basically, if we move forward on this legislation, we could come up with something that's more concrete for the future, work with the community, and would that be a continued process?
It would be. You know, the development of a plan implementation, and when we usually use a community-based planning type initiative. We want the public to participate and help the BLM identify how these rocks and islands should be better protected and conserved.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.